Hello, I'm Sophie D'Souza and welcome to my channel, Sophie's Stained Glass. This series of videos is all for people who are absolute and complete beginners at stained glass, and in particular leaded glass, because I have noticed a paucity of leaded videos out there. They're all for copper foilers. Why should they have all the fun? So I have been developing some videos about how to make little ornaments. So this is a mirror, same design, but obviously this is glass, art glass. This mirror is made with 8mm lead, and this is made with 6mm lead. And I've done that so that you can compare and contrast, because I have had some people asking me about how to choose what lead to use. And when it's for an architectural purpose, there's all sorts of structural things to think about, but there is an aesthetic element to the decision. So I thought perhaps this would give you an idea about different looks you can get. This one, I have used H lead on the outside and folded it over. This one, I haven't folded it over. I hope you enjoy the video and that you learn lots from it. There are lots of other videos to look at, and I am adding to them all the time. 2 a week. Yes, you heard it here. So any questions, let me know. Don't forget to hit the bell button and subscribe, and then you'll know whenever I post and you'll never miss anything. Thank you. So for brevity and viewing convenience, I have split this video into, and in this segment coming up, you can learn how to make this charming mirror. The first thing I need to do is separate these two designs. So the one that I'm going to make out of mirror, I'm going to have to cut this up into its constituent parts, because I have to draw over the mirror with my felt tip. But before I do that, I am going to label these. You have to label both the same. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is the pattern that you're going to use when you actually lead your little mirror, and this is the pattern that we'll cut up and use to put on our mirror to cut the pieces out. Obviously you cut to the inside of the line for each shape. Okay, so there we have it. Now I'm going to just lay them on here and see how easy it's going to be to cut them all out of the same piece. Fantastic. It's not going to use a lot of... I'm going to use these edges because it just reduces my cutting. Now if I put this here, it's going to be that's going to be a bit thin, so I might do it that way. And let's see, that's a nice corner. Okay. Right, I think that's how I'm going to do them. One of the advantages of this way of cutting is that you can place them all on your glass before you start to cut. I'm going to tap this. There we are. Now, quite hard to break mirror. Because it's 4mm. The first thing you need to do is cut off the gnarled ends from where you stretched your lead, because as you will have seen in other videos, you stretch your lead. That's got it. Didn't want to go on. So I'm going to make this a bit shorter, shall I? Let me just double check. Will that? Yeah, that'll be all right. Okay. Will this fit? That will fit there. So, when you're bending lead around a curved piece, you can't start here because you don't have enough sort of leverage to get the curve going. So you have to come in a bit. It's a bit like when you bend copper pipe for plumbing, actually. You need an end, and then you can make sure that it's proper bent round. Ooh, it's come out. Oh, everything is so fiddly, isn't it? Okay, so I'm going to cut it there, and I'm going to cut it there. So you have to make sure you slightly lift this lead to get it inside the channel there, because what they like to do is butt up against the bottom. Very naughty. Right, I'm going to cut this end. this end. And again, you just have to cut it so that it will slip inside the outside lead. You don't have to have your measurements as exact. Okay, last piece. Now, what shall I do? Butt here or butt there? Let's do that. Right, this is going to be a bit tight because you're going to have this bit of lead trying to go inside this external lead that's also trying to butt. That's all right, we can manage. But if you don't get it quite right, there, we can see that line now, which means it's where it should be. So I'm going to just put a nail in place. And we're going to, there. Now, this piece we cut so it will just tuck inside the outside leads. I really could have nailed this in place to stop it moving, but I didn't. So, sometimes you forget and then things move, but you can push them where you want them to be. So, I'm using a hammer on the end of this fid, and it does wonders as a way to really push things about, because it's a gentle way of hammering your panel. Let's get that iron on. Now, I'll just push all these flat so we can solder them. There we are. Lovely. Very good. So all these little ends will get trimmed. Rubbing flux on the joints so they take the solder. So we start by wiping the iron. Oh, it's not warm enough yet. See, nothing doing. And actually, if you notice, that's a little bit, I suppose you'd call it satin finish, whereas when it's actually at temperature and you wipe it on your wet sponge, it goes really bright. So we'll just give that a minute. So let's give this another go. Let's see if it goes bright. That looks a bit better, doesn't it? A bit shinier. Now, I'm going to try, see, not too much solder here. And if you have to go back to a joint, you don't need to go back and put more solder on. All you need is to reheat the joint. That one's a bit bumpy because there's so much lead there. Okay. That didn't actually go under there, which is why there's a slight bulge here. And this particular knife is it's a traditional lead knife, which I find they go blunt quite quickly for cutting lead, but there we go. They're good for this sort of thing where you need a really slim blade. I'm going to fold the edges of this lead over because I've had a couple of comments about why don't I use U-lead for the outside edge, and the reason is I don't have any, because I work on windows usually and I never have a need for it. Of course, if you make ornaments, it's a nice way of finishing off the outside edge. And if you don't know what U-shaped lead is, it's what it sounds like. Instead of having an H profile, it has a U profile, so it doesn't have that outside empty channel that you get on the outside edge of a piece. So because I am planning on bending the outside lead over, I have only taken my solder halfway across the lead, because solder's very hard and I won't be able to bend the lead if I gosh, I hope you can see that. I won't be able to bend the lead if I solder all the way. Now the other thing I need to do is trim, and these are the best for trimming because they have a side angled, you know, don't know how to express it, but you can get right in up next to, and there we have it. Now the next thing we have to do, if we're going to successfully bend the lead, is take the heart out at these corners, which I will show you how to do. So first of all, I'm just opening up the lead where it's squashed. Now we need to take just about 5 mil out, and this is how we do it. We cut this way and we cut this way, and then we pull it out. It's very low tech. So this way, and cut it out. This way, cut it out. Yes, it felt like there ought to be 4. Okay. Now, this is the front, so we're going to start on the back. And I'm going to just start bending with my thumbs. Yeah. Let's just get that outside one out of the way. Okay, bending with thumbs. And actually, I think I will nip this corner. It's going to make it fold nicer. So. In fact, I might cut that away so it's not so bulky. So, yeah. It's a bit like when you're doing corners when you're upholstering something. This is where all the sort of the bulk, it gets caught. Okay, so now, having started it off with my fingers, I'm just going to use a fid and I think I'll use an oyster knife here because that's a bulky bit. Right, so having done the back, we are now going to do the same on the front. So that has folded in the edges. So if having, I might just cut this away a bit, if having an H profile lead on the outside of your piece offends you, this is something you can do if you choose to. I never mind having an H lead on the outside, so it would be your choice really. The finished item. So I hope you have managed to follow this tutorial and hasn't found it too difficult, because this is a complete and absolute beginners, yeah, that you're happy with what you've made and you're not being too picky about everything, you know, just be happy, not critical, and ask me anything you like. I like getting your comments, and thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.